Okay, I believe we are live. Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this lunchtime. As you can see, I'm joined by our wonderful panel here, and I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves. So if you will humor me for just a few moments, I will start by doing a few quick bits of housekeeping. I'm really looking forward to this discussion, so I'm going to try and get that out of the way as quickly as possible. So first thing to say is that all the views expressed on today's episode will be the panelists' own. We want this to be as interactive as possible. We would love to have your questions. You'll see that there's a box to submit your questions. Please introduce yourself in the comments, say hi. And we'd love to see and talk to as many of you as possible. We're going to stick to a tight 50 minutes for the discussion and questions. We'll try and weave in as many questions throughout the discussion as possible, but we'll allocate some dedicated time at the end as well. And then if my colleague Molly is from our customer success team is going to join at 10 to, and she's going to do a very quick whistle-stop overview of what we do here at Sona. So if that's of interest, please do stick around for the last 10 minutes as well. And just last thing is that this is all being recorded. It will be available on demand via the Livestorm platform and later on our YouTube as well. So if you don't have the chance to watch all of it, or you want to share it with a colleague later on, then you will have the opportunity to do that. And with all that being said, I now have the pleasure of welcoming our panelists for our discussion on employee empowerment. I'm going to start with Geraint. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and then pass it on?
Of course. Hi, everybody. I'm Geraint Thomas. I run a company called Guided Innovation. We help care organizations to find the right technology to solve their challenges. So we know what it is to try and run a care organization in the UK and the challenges that you all face with that. And we're geeks. You know, we know what's on the market. We know the good, the bad, the ugly products that are out there, and we help you navigate that. And I'm really looking forward today to talking about employee engagement. It's a key thing for our sector, and I hope you all ask us some very difficult questions. Oli?
Perfect. Thanks, Geraint. I'm Oli. I'm one of the co-founders of Sona. We're building the future of workforce management, or we call it the people operating system for the frontline workforce. And specifically, we are super focused on the social care sector. I sit on the operations and customer success side of the business. So I work with a lot of our customers, making sure that they get the most out of our product and to get some insights from them on their day-to-day operations. And with that, I'll hand over to you, Nuno.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Nuno. I'm the founder and CEO of Nourish Care. We are a digital social care records platform. We take a stance across the business of caring for care teams very much in the same way that they care for people. And I accumulate that with a number of other roles. So I'm the co-founder of the Care Software Providers Association. I sit on a number of panels within that. I have regular engagements with ministerial level, with essential social care, adult social care, all party parliamentary groups. And at the same time, I sit with the Professional Records Standards Body and a number of other initiatives related to interoperability across the sector. I mean, that's the in a nutshell.
Thanks, everyone. Let's dive straight into it. So we're going to start with the most obvious scene setting question, and that is, what does employee empowerment mean to each of you, and what do you think that looks like in a care setting? And if you are in the audience, we actually would love to hear what you think as well. So I'm going to start a poll now. But Oli, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. For me, employee empowerment, it means that you start with kind of giving authority, responsibility, and just autonomy to your employees, and for that, like effectively end to end, allowing them to make decisions and take actions that contribute both to your success as an organization, but also and specifically in care to the well-being of your customers. And so that can take many forms, and I think like to be successful at doing those things, it's important to start off with effectively like making it easy for people to be successful in these things. I think of things like giving them some freedom, giving employees some freedom on how to work is a big thing, and when to work is also big in that context. Giving them an opportunity to give feedback to the organization, so the organization can learn from things that are either going really well or could be done better. And not just do that as a one-off exercise, but do that on a more regular basis, so that people can start to improve continuously across the organization. Giving them access to training and kind of learning and development opportunities so they can progress. And obviously, and this is probably, I won't go too deep into it because I think I will start to steal some thunder here, but also giving them access to real-time information and allowing them to keep a good record of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, so that they can empower the rest of the organization to take action as well. So it's not necessarily, in my mind, empowerment isn't technology focused or starts and ends with technology. It's much more of a deeper cultural thing, but technology can certainly support in those endeavors. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, I suspect.
Nuno, do you want to pick that up now? Nuno, I think we need to enable your microphone.
Yeah, sorry. Empowerment, particularly empowerment of care workers, is absolutely key to everything we do. The first stance that we took on developing our product, and this must have been 8 years ago now, was actually our product development team spent time within care teams, and we were part of shifts. We would clock in the morning, spend shifts with care workers, and take conclusions from that and go back to the drawing board and redesign, rinse and repeat. Empowerment is so important to us that we actually commissioned studies on our clients, essentially care teams, to try and understand what was the impact that Nourish delivered to each one of the care workers from the point of view of the care worker, in the care worker's voice. What we can see is, and I'm going to repeat a lot of what Oli just said, what we can see is that care workers all of a sudden gain the ability to make decisions, gain autonomy, gain access to information that allows them to be better informed, better armed to make the right decisions on the spot. And when they need to escalate things, they're able to escalate things. So technology in this environment doesn't really bring empowerment if the culture isn't there. But if the culture is right, then technology just enables care workers to do their job in a way that they weren't able to do before, and with a speed of kind of responsiveness within the care team that just wasn't possible. So care teams that have the right culture, that embed products like Nourish, it's the change in the feeling of each care worker goes from, in some cases, I'm doing a job that is borderline impossible, to I'm doing a job that I feel like I'm in control of, and actually, as a result of my job, I'm keeping people I'm supporting safer, and I'm making sure that they have the best possible day they can have. That for us just means everything. So it's kind of, that's empowerment in our world.
Yeah, I'm enjoying hearing you guys talk like this, because you're absolutely right there. And Oli, you said the word culture, and you're the same. And let me focus in on what I believe as empowerment, and I'm going to try and simplify this as much as I can. It's trust. It's the fact that leaders and managers are able to trust the grassroots staff that are working with vulnerable people every single day. They're the experts. They know what is required every minute of the day for those people they're supporting. And the more we can trust those people, the more empowered they're going to become. But it will be two ways. That individual also needs to be able to trust their manager. They need to be able to trust that they can raise the flag when something's not okay, or just chat about things to get things off their chest. So it's definitely the opposite of a blame culture. It's where there is freedom for people to be able to do what they want to be doing, but also be able to talk to people and have space for that. And Let me throw this one out there. When you've asked Eamon how this relates to the social care sector, and let me say this, I don't think the social care sector is particularly good at this. Just to throw it out there, and I'd love everybody's thoughts on this in the chat if you could, but I think as a sector, we're not particularly good at trusting frontline staff and giving them space to come and talk to those that have a good listening ear. But hey, that's why they've got webinars like this.
Yeah, I have to say a quick comment on that. Where you have gaps of trust, introducing technology can be super hard, mostly because, I mean, trust is needed from both sides. So if the trust isn't there from leadership, often what happens when you introduce technology in an environment like that is that you end up with a care team that is suspicious of the fact that we're introducing technology to monitor them or to track them. Whereas in reality, I mean, that is definitely not the way most of the good platforms in the market were designed for. They're actually not even very good at doing that. The reality is, it is about the experience of how technology is explained. First and foremost, it's not about the technology. Actually, I mean, good products are here because we're trying to focus on improving the odds that the person drawing on social care has some degree of improvement to having a good day, or you know, having a sense of purpose, and being able to enable the care team to make those things happen for that person. If technology is brought in within a framework of training, of communication, of empowerment, which actually, I mean, I'm obviously keeping an eye on the comments. Yes, empowerment is a combination of all these things. It isn't just about technology. The training, the opening up of the communication is often a big part of starting to close that chasm of trust. It's you bring in the technology, you focus everyone's minds on the fact that, look, we are doing a transformation in the way you keep your records, but it's way more than that. It is about keeping communication open. It is about full transparency. And for registered managers that have a hard time trusting their staff, it more often than not it's an overwhelming sensation of, all of a sudden, I don't have to worry about what's actually happening, because I don't have to spend hours of every day going through piles of paper to make sure that everything is tidied up in case CQC comes along. No, I have it all on a screen that I know what's happening, which by a byproduct of that, they can spend a lot more time walking the floors of a care home, nursing home, or actually shadowing people who are delivering care. Now, at that point, if care teams aren't feeling a lot more confident in their ability to trust each other, then there is a significant culture challenge at that stage. But the reality is, I mean, in 90% of the cases where we see a trust issue to begin with, by week 2 of onboarding into Nourish, most of the trust issues are gone, because there is full transparency and there is an initial shock, and it's you know, it's like a bathtub curve where people go from like borderline trusting each other even less, and then it goes up, and then they just end up slotting in a position where collaboration becomes a lot more natural, coordination becomes a lot more natural, and there's nothing hidden because it's full transparency.
Do we have any other views on that issue of trust, which has actually been commented on quite a few times? So really interesting comment from Debbie saying, trust is allowing people to fail and supporting them. The CQC isn't open to this culture.
The regulator will not like that. It's sad, isn't it? You know, trial and error is a key part to learning. We should be letting residents, service users, vulnerable adults try and fail. But we can't allow staff to do it. So yeah, Debbie, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, we have a few. It's not the majority, unfortunately. We have we have over 3,000 care providers using our platform right now. But there's a few dozens that are the troublemakers, and the amount of times that we have people who are receiving support themselves who are the ones holding the device and making their choices and coordinating their care. And yes, I am pretty sure that if you look at it from the wrong angle, there's lots of reasons why we shouldn't do that. No one cares. It's the right thing to do, so we just do it. And actually, yes, you can end up with the wrong inspector walking to that service and trying to kind of start wagging fingers and trying to apportion blame. The reality is most inspectors will actually see the point of doing that. But yes, I understand regulators are still a little bit behind of the curve on that one.
If I can suggest things, so from a technical point of view, I'm going to say two things, and they're very similar but incredibly different. So let's imagine you have bought a new piece of software and there's a functionality in there that could be a little bit iffy and somebody could take advantage of it. I hear this said to me quite a lot by care leaders. I can't possibly turn that function on because staff will misuse it. So I hear that quite often. Let's talk about products that will allow staff to swap shifts with each other, or a product that allows you to delegate permissions to someone else to do your jobs for you because you're swamped. You know, these kind of things. But let me spin that around. I definitely want this feature turned on for staff so that I can monitor those that misuse it. One of these is incredibly empowering and one isn't. So the second one is trusting all your staff equally. Now, we are social care. We do suffer from people with no other jobs or career prospects choosing us. So yes, we will have lazy staff, or maybe have staff that don't listen very well. I know those exist. So I'm a big believer that if at all possible, blanket trust across your workforce and use the data and the reporting in these tools to hone in on the small percent that might misuse something. That's empowering. You're empowering the vast majority while policing the few. Whereas the first comment I said, you're blanket distrusting all of your staff. So yeah, I'm a big believer in if we can try and, as a first attempt, trust everyone. And look, this is new. We talked about monitoring and measuring as a negative, but that transparency could be used very positively in the world of policing. And thanks for those in the comments that agree with me. It's lovely.
Yeah, thanks for all the comments so far. Please do keep them coming. I feel like we've got now an opportunity to move on. So the next question I had was, how is technology empowering better care in the sector right now? So perhaps Nuno, like, you would like to lead us off on that one.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So technology, there's so many examples. It's almost overwhelming how, and I could take the next hour just answering that question. In our case at Nourish, every care worker walks into their shift. They pick a handset from the rack that has just been charging. They log themselves in, and that's their device for the shift. First thing they see on screen is their handover. And the handover is a lot more than a list of notes. It's basically kind of situational awareness for the care team and the people we're supporting right now. I mean, that is a massive change when it comes to situational awareness. When we are recording things on paper, the situational awareness comes from the number of nurse call alarms that you can hear right now, or if someone's shouting. In a digital environment, you can keep calm and you can coordinate the entire team across multiple floors, across even a postcode patch. Care teams are able to not just record the information, but be nudged by information that was just recorded by somebody else, which means that all of a sudden you have an ongoing real-time update of the situational awareness for all the people you're supporting. And the team is able to make decisions. So if by 12 o'clock Frank didn't drink or didn't hit, say, 30% of their hydration target, the team knows Frank, and the team is able to say, well, at this stage we know what to do. It's time for an orange juice. The team doesn't need to be told. The team will coordinate because A, they all know Frank. B, if the ones who don't know Frank have a quick summary of of Frank's preferences on their fingerprint, on fingertip access. And if for some reason Frank is showing a strange behavior, they're able to, from the screen, just nudge and almost amber mark Frank and say that, look, we all need to keep an eye on Frank today. This coordinates the entire team at a level that was just completely impossible to do before. The only way to coordinate teams like this before was verbally, and care teams come together for coffee breaks and handovers, and that's it. With this sort of behavior, care teams and care workers who are more proactive, and I have to say, yes, there are bad eggs. The vast majority of care workers are doing it for the right reasons and want to feel empowered to do it for the right reasons. Care workers are able to get to know people and are able to action things. And I'll give you a couple of examples that are, I mean, they are almost anecdotes, but these things happen every day in every care service that uses our products. Care service locally, I'm based in Bournemouth, care service locally, specialist in dementia, very, very proud of their ability to have very comprehensive life story recording before and after admission. And therefore, with knowing the life story of each individual, knowing what's important to them, how to engage, how to stimulate them so that they actually have a best chance of keeping social engagement, keeping a sense of purpose. So they take on a resident who was nonverbal. He just hadn't talked for best part of 6 months before he joined the service. The care team used every possibility to try and understand what got his attention, what changed his gaze. They spoke and engaged with every single member of the family that came into the service. And with each one of those interactions, using Nourish, they're constantly adding to the story that this individual, that they were collecting about this individual. Until 3 weeks later, post-admission, a care worker speaks to a family member that talks about the fact that that person, about 60 years ago, was part of the UK GB Olympic swimming team. And this was the first time that anyone identified that. The care worker took it on his, he took it upon himself to organize a trip to the local swimming pool, which they've done using messaging within our system, flagging the right people, getting permissions from the right people within the care home. 2 weeks later, the person went on their first experience of swimming at the local swimming pool. The person came out first. The moment the person got to the swimming pool, it was like a robot. It just swam. It was a second nature. So care worker gets massive kind of positive feedback from the entire team. Week later, takes the person for a swim. 3 weeks later, the person came out to the swim and started talking. And I'll just leave it there. And those stories, I hear them from absolutely every care team that I walk into. And when you actually take the time to hear those stories, care workers just don't. Every single care worker has an innovator within them. If we give them the right tools, they will accelerate the innovation. And when I talk about innovation, it's the innovation that really matters, right? It's the working out what is going to give this person a better sense of purpose, what is going to increase their well-being. And I feel super proud that Nourish is a big part of contributing to care workers being able to do that.
Thank you, Nuno. You put a smile on everyone on the panel's face there, so that was great. Oli, it sounds like you were ready to jump in there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Nuno started talking a lot about, I guess, both continuity of care and leading into kind of the quality of care. And I think it's, the story itself was so touching and awesome, actually. So yeah, I agree with Nuno that those are definitely those are the perks of the job, right? You get some of those stories and you hear them, and it's super rewarding. But I wanted to kind of, I guess, talk a little bit about kind of in terms of the quality of care. Like, I guess Sona is is 1 degree removed, I guess, from some of these things, because we're not enabling on the job better care, if you like, or something like that. But some of our tools are certainly contributing to both the well-being of the staff, and then by extension the well-being of the people in the care homes, or in the customers, I guess. And so one of those that we hear often is not effectively being able to be a little bit more empowered. And when you work, means that you come into work with more spring in your step, and kind of you're more excited about taking on the challenges. And so we see that a lot with our customers, that, you know, if you are constantly being asked to work additional shifts here and there, and if you're not in control of your shift patterns, it becomes a little bit forced and monotonous. Whereas if you are yourself picking and choosing the shifts you can actually work, that ends up being a much better pattern. So you can come in rested and fully engaged with the people that you are supporting, and I think that's huge. And the one other bit that I wanted to touch on is just this thing where you, through digitization, you enable people to give constant feedback, and whether that means the people that you support or your employees, both are equally important. I think, like technology in terms of empowering better care, it should empower power managers or people that kind of run care businesses to listen. That's the main tool that I think is often missing. Enabling them to hear feedback both from the people they support, but also from their employees, and often indirectly, therefore, from the people they support, so they can action some of the issues that are happening inside of their businesses. And so I think, like, we can talk about at length about other technology initiatives, but those are the two that are kind of front and center. One being a very Sona specific, but the other being, I think, more generic. Over to you, Geraint.
Yeah, if I talk generically. So what I was lucky enough to speak to a young carer recently, wonderful individual, really very much in love with this sector. And I asked her about this kind of stuff, about empowerment, about technology, and how she's found the sector since she's engaged with it. And she said this to me. She held up her phone and she said, you know, Geraint, as a 19-year-old, everything in my life is on here. You know, this is how I engage my friends, how I organize time with my friends, how I go out, how I buy a ticket to something, how I go to the cinema, how I book a restaurant, how I order in a restaurant. This is how my parents keep in contact with me. This is how I make sure that they're safe. This is how I make sure I'm getting the right train. You know, my map everywhere. This is my life. And I go into work and I put it away and I have nothing. I now have to find someone that knows about the person I'm doing and whether they can swim. I need to find out what their allergies are on a piece of paper over there. I need to go and look at a board to tell me what I've got to do today, what activities are on. And she said to me, you know, I'm not empowered. I don't have the ability to control my own time, control my own tasks, prioritize what I'm doing now that I've started work. And she was very passionate about the idea that, you know, once I've started work, surely I can now pick this out of my pocket. And again, I've got my work life at my fingertips. So I think, you know, accessibility and transparency over someone's tasks for the day is going to give them that empowerment and control. And, you know, yes, there's control and empowerment and freedom and trust. But yes, you know, I'm going to harp back on, somebody needs to monitor that. You need to be checking on that. You need to make sure that she is making the right decisions around prioritizing what she does in what order. And I asked that question to her and she answered with, of course. She had this expectation. She said, until recently, my mum and dad could read all my texts because there was an app on my phone. You know, she'd been brought up in that world. So, you know, just to try and come across as young and hip, you know, your Gen Zs, your Gen Ys, you know, I genuinely believe they've got an appetite to be trusted and to have that accountability. And I am young and cool, please.
Thanks for that, Geraint. Got a couple of interesting questions, so gonna jump into those. I think we're gonna take two related ones actually, because they're both to do with kind of collaboration and co-production. So Shan has asked, as technology providers, do you liaise with the CQC to discuss the benefits of your technologies or technology generally, and have you been contacted about the new single assessment framework? And Ali has asked how much co-production is part of developing the tech. Are there approaches to tech development or introduction that actively engage with employees, and are they adaptable to the individual needs? So two elements of the same kind of overall thing, which is how do we collaborate more to make sure that the technology does result in that outcome that everyone wants, which is better care for service users.
Shall I have a go?
By all means.
So I mean, really good question around CQC. CQC is doing all sorts of consultations across the sector. Obviously, their focus on gathering feedback is from providers, general public, local authorities, but we are engaged with CQC. So as part of the Care Software Providers Association, we have a regular catch-up with CQC, which happens roughly on a monthly basis. And we have very active discussions around how, I guess, I mean, two things. One is how does their thinking is evolving on the single assessment framework. I think primarily we are all very curious to understand how are they going to start assessing local authorities and localities, right? ICSs in general. And that is, I think, exciting for the sector, because there's going to be some responsibility from CQCs and local authorities for quality of care and care continuity of care. The area where I get really excited is the area whereby data handlers, in our case we are data processors, but we enable 20% or 25% of the sector to use digital. Starting to open the eyes of CQC for what is the art of the possible in a world where inspections aren't always physical. Inspections are probably driven by exception, and actually, if you're a good provider and in terms of the data shows that everything within your care team is progressing well, it may be that you are inspected less often. It may be that actually your inspections on your team are more soft touch, are more light touch, are probably conducted remotely. Whereas if you're a provider that are still sitting on paper, or you're showing to have problems either with staffing levels or with level of incidents or unplanned hospital admissions, that actually CQC may want to visit more often. And rather than visits being completely random, whereas as they meant to be, actually you start having a positive bias towards CQC focusing on where the problems, where providers are struggling to meet outcomes. So that's the view on CQC. I think CQC is increasingly open to talk about technology. When it comes to digital social care records, I think they now have a view that there's a timeline after which it will become pretty obvious that if you're a care provider that still wants to operate on paper, you're actually willingly accepting to work in a higher risk environment. And I think that CQC is on that journey. Actually, I think they are already there. They're already playing with what is the date by which, after that date, we're actually going to say if you want to aspire to have a good rating, you need to be on a digital platform. So I think CQC is moving along at quite some pace now. It's a large organization, that the caveat with CQC is always that they have tens of thousands of inspectors or whatever the number is today, and inspectors move at a different pace. So you're always going to have inspectors that are not aligned with the culture and intent of the organization. But CQC itself, I think, is very much keeping an open arms attitude towards technology that actually leads to improvement in quality of care. Another area that I'm very, very keen to evolve with CQC and local authorities is making sure that we actually model the data that flows within social care, so that we minimize the repeated ask of registered providers to and registered managers in particular, because the work that registered managers do is already a high pressure job, and having lots of organizations around the care provider actually using digital the wrong way, which is now it's really easy for us to ask for more information. So if I'm a local authority, can you just fill in this form? If I'm Department of Health and Social Care, do capacity tracker. If I'm CQC, I want you to do returns more frequently. That's not the right way to use technology. So what we want is to make sure that actually, if this is data that lives within Nourish, all you have to do is to press this button, verify the return, and agree that, yeah, you want to share this with a local authority. You don't have to do the duplicate entries all the time, as is going to be the case if life goes on without us coordinating digital transformation across the entire landscape. I feel like I spoke quite a lot. I have lots of comments around co-production. I mean, everything we do is co-produced with clients, with care workers, more importantly with users. So we provide direct customer support 24/7 to about 85,000 care workers every single day of the year. So and what that means is that if there are ideas, we encourage people to step forward with ideas. We collate those ideas, and those ideas contribute to our product roadmap. So our product is constantly being co-designed. And I'm not going to mention that, yes, we spend a lot of time in care homes, and we spend a lot of time with care teams in other care settings where we serve our product. So yes, everything that we serve it wasn't just our idea. It's a co-designed effort between us, care providers, people receiving care, their families, and other people around circles of care.
So if I can jump in, and Eamon, this is your fault. You said I could speak my mind, so you'll find me a bit of an anarchist in this one here. So yeah, all right, CQC, they're doing the single framework. Who knows if it'll work? Who knows when it'll come out properly? Who knows when their port will be ready? Who knows if the port will be right when it first time? Perhaps I'm a bit of a cynic around this, but I am. But what I do know is CQC will follow through on their threat that you're going to get to a point of self-reporting, self-regulation. You're going to have to start reporting your numbers around things by uploading it to some sort of portal. This data will be held in systems like Nourish, and rostering systems and medication systems and HR systems around turnover and agency use and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, you need to digitalize as a care provider, because your regulator is going to lose a tolerance for not having this data digital. And they probably won't come and beat you over the head if you're not, but they'll make it difficult. It could take days every month to get your data together and upload it to these portals when they go live. So if you've digitalized, it's just going to make those things better. I've seen some comments from you, Lindsay, around that stuff. That's fantastic. If I flip then to the co-production, I think software suppliers to the market, particularly the newer ones on the market, do a very good job of engaging with frontline staff around usability of products. I do have a saying that it doesn't matter how good a piece of software is if no one uses it. Usability for staff and utilization and engagement is really going to be key, and co-production is a key part of it. But to express perhaps a more negative view, I see very rarely softwares being co-produced with residents, service users, members, whatever you call them, the people you're working with. Very rarely do I see things in easy read formats. Very rarely do I see any speech to text products that allow for stammers and stuttering and things like that. I'm seeing, the fantastic technologies, assistive technologies you can get attached to wheelchairs, where people can press buttons and press pictures to speak for them. No one integrates with those. So, I'm looking forward to a stage in software to our sector that's going to see more products linking directly with the care plans that those are written about.
Wow. Tough act to follow. I'll try. Right. I think like firstly, I guess on the co-production point, I just want to echo what Nuno said. Like we try to take a very holistic approach when it comes to, I guess, developing the product. It's also in our interest, right? Like it doesn't make sense to put technology in the hands of users that they can't properly use. And so the quicker we can get to the nuts and bolts of what is actually useful and helpful, the better. And to that extent, like working with the end user, the carers, with, I mean, Nuno and I have been on a few calls together as well. So like it's also about, you know, making sure that we talk between us as well in an easy manner. And actually that touches on something that was talked about a little bit earlier. As a care organization, how painful must it be if you have to digitize 50, 60 times? Like for every single product, you are re-inputting the same amount of details all the time, and you have just people maintaining those instances on a regular basis. That's where, like, I guess the kind of newer businesses, and I definitely pride myself of being one of them, and Nuno is as well. We definitely, we see things, I think, slightly differently than things that were developed 10, 15 years ago, where it was very much a case of, you know, this is, and I'm not talking about, you know, sensitive data here. I'm talking about users' data and kind of how to make it easy for care workers. It was very much a case of like, you know, we have this relationship with this care organization and we won't share it. Whereas in our world, it's very much of a, how can we make sure that our products talk between themselves so that they make it as easy and useful to the care providers as humanly possible. And we worked really, really hard to make that helpful. Like one example of this is that the stuff that comes out of the care planning products that Nourish has is like directly related into the scheduling product of Sona. We literally take the hours of care needed for the people that are being supported, and we convert that into, you know, type of support that is needed, and ultimately into shifts. And that's only possible because both Sona and Nourish in this instance are talking very freely between themselves and kind of sharing the data for best practices. And so I'm super excited about what the next 5 or 10 years look like in this area. We'll talk a little bit about where technology will go as well, and I think that will make these things even more interesting. But the starting point has to be that you are trying to make people's lives easier, whether it's the end user or the carer. You have to start with that frame of mind, because otherwise, like, also just as a business, you might be successful in the short run, but like it's not about creating your moat. It's about actually making a difference and creating value for the industry in that way. And so I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Oli. We've gone already to under 10 minutes left, which is like so hard to believe. There's one big topic that I really wanted to welcome Molly. Molly will be joining us for the Sona run through shortly. Welcome. So like there's a big topic that was in the comments, and also something I wanted to touch on. So please, if you can, before one wrap up question, sort of 1 to 2 minutes each on this issue of digital fatigue, and maybe us getting to a point where we've gone past like the block of skepticism, and actually the bigger challenge is that there's so much technology. Like how do we stop it getting in the way of great care and stop people prevent overwhelm?
Shall I go?
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Go on, Nina.
Yeah,
go on.
I'll start with that one because it's actually something that it keeps me awake at night. There is a tendency for care providers to usually assume that, oh, my care workers will not take to technology easily. There's going to be a resistance, and therefore I'm not sure if this is going to work. And then the reality is, more often than not, care workers, and I did see a couple of comments about older care workers versus younger care workers. Yeah, please do get in touch, because we have some care workers who are probably older in age than some of the people who receive care, who are amazing users of technology. So I think that a lot of how people take technology and use it is in the how you communicate it and how you manage that change, how you manage the natural anxiety. A 72-year-old will require one-to-one training. A 72-year-old that uses Facebook every day will probably take it the same way that the 19-year-old, but the 72-year-old who never used a smartphone before will require one-to-one training. And once you remove the anxiety and they feel empowered, going back to the beginning of the session, when they feel empowered, it's amazing what they do. So I don't really see the age divide being so much of an issue. It's more about how do you train, how do you manage that change. Going back to the technology fatigue, yes, we do see that. We see environments where care workers get so absorbed by recording things that in some cases we are starting to see people not taking their eyes off the phone as much as they should. And the reality is that is a symptom of people are still not using technology as an act of almost subconscious. It's still too high in their mental load that I have to record this. Where we need to shape culture, and the vast majority of our care providers, this is what happens. People will keep phones in their pockets. Very rarely do they come out. They are focused on providing care, doing the skin-to-skin, eye-to-eye contact, and provide really good personal care. Once they finish an interaction, they take the phone out, 3 or 4 taps on the screen, and they move on to the next thing. It is a matter of how culturally we accept technology to exist on the floor of a care home or a nursing home. It's technology is there to augment care service, not to guide care service. And that is a nuance. That is a nuance that is really, really important, because time and time again, the risk of us not monitoring that nuance is that, yes, care workers are not looking around as much as we want them to. And I know that they want to do that themselves. So it's a matter of, as technology suppliers, we need to be conscious of that and almost encourage a different behavior that is probably not the default behavior that people will adopt if we just let them run with it. Because if we let them run with it, they will, they'll use the thumbs that they have trained on TikTok on our devices, and that's not what we want.
That's really good. So to sum up for myself, let me hugely oversimplify what I'm about to say. When it comes to this fatigue and the use of digital, staff are either going to feel I need to use this or I want to use it. And there's 2 ways of implementing a piece of technology. Either it's often because of head office or leadership need a member of staff to fill this in. And it might be that you've got to fill it in 2 places because 2 different reports need the data. And the staff is having to pick up that piece of technology and use it and complete it because, bosses need you to do it. Ideally, and the fatigue will drop away very quickly if it's the second one. If the technology is implemented in such a way that it's configured and built and designed from the start to help the member of staff, and the member of staff feels like to use this is going to speed something up for me or make it safer or enable the person I'm working alongside of more. The more that the products can be built, configured and trained in the use of in such a way that staff feel this is what I want, this is what's useful, this is helpful, that fatigue will drop away. Sadly, we're a heavy regulated sector. There is always going to be that. You've got to fill it in. It wasn't an accident. No one was hurt. Yeah, but it was an EMS. You got to fill it in. There's always that. But that's my 2 minutes. I'll just finish with, so, please, anybody on this call, do reach out to me. I'm a lovely person to speak to, and I'll talk all day.
Amazing. I will keep mine very, very short. I think you both have spoken my mind really. I think just to kind of echo what Geraint said about kind of the kind of we want you to have this versus it's something that helps you. The same applies outside of the workplace. Care planning, EMARs, stuff like that. The stuff that you go and you use on the at work. Those things need to be helpful for you at work. Outside of work, my personal belief is that the interaction should be very, very limited. You shouldn't have people, having to log into multiple different systems to be able to engage with you in different ways outside of work. You shouldn't be contacting people really frequently outside of work. You should allow people to engage with you, though, as a care organization, if they need to. And so being able to message their manager, being able to pick up additional shifts, being able to give feedback on the day, things of that nature, those are all things that are beneficial to the care worker, to the care professional. And those are the things, just like inside of the job, you rely on care planning like Nourish, and you rely on EMR, and you rely on other software to help you do your job. Outside of your job, you can rely on things like Sona, but you should really be using it because it benefits you as an individual, not because it benefits the organization. As a whole, that will end up benefiting the organization, but the lens has to be shifted towards the care worker, not your business. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Oli. What a great way to sum it up. And we're almost perfectly to time as well. So just on the point of getting in touch, we will send out an email to everyone. So Nuno, Geraint, I will speak to you about making sure that our lovely viewers can get in touch with you both if they want to reach out. And with that, I would like to thank you all for being part of this discussion. Really enjoyed it. And if you would mind just leaving the room now, I'm going to hand the floor over to Molly for a quick Sona overview. So Molly, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm just looking at 2 screens. I'm just going to share my screen here so that we can run through a quick demo. There we go. So a challenge for me to do this very quickly and not go into too much detail. So I'll just give you an overview of Sona. And of course, if you want to get in touch with us and get some more information or a longer demo, then you absolutely can. As Eamon said, we'll be in touch. So the main things I wanted to highlight are, firstly, we've got different ways of viewing the rota. Now, this is one of our demo accounts. It's set up for a very quite simple care setting. This one in particular, we're looking at the rota from a by staff member viewpoint. And what you can see here is we've got the staff here down the left-hand side, their contracted hours, and we are indicating whether they're up and down on those. And then we've got the shifts that they're working. Something that our customers really love about Sona is how personalized we can be. So things like different colors, different names for shift types, it's all flexible. Another key feature of Sona is we are able to show agency staff on the rota. So you can see here at the bottom, we've got some agency workers here and which agency they're from. This just allows managers to keep track of who is coming to cover their shifts and record those on the rota. And of course, give agency reporting as well. We can report on spend and cost. We've also got here a feature just around absence. So you can see here, Ayla is on holiday. And what we do here, I think, is quite unique. So we show that she's on holiday for this period of time, but we also show what she should have been working. So her regular shifts, and what's overlapping it is the holiday. And you can see she was supposed to work Monday and Wednesday. And what we've got in place of those are open shifts on Monday and Wednesday. Now, this is a key feature of Sona in that we offer an open shift platform where you can post your shifts and anyone who is qualified to work them, and we can get really detailed in terms of who's qualified, and people that are available can pick up these shifts in the app. And there's all sorts of settings and things we can set on here to make sure that that is going to the right people to be able to pick those shifts up. Anyone that picks them up, it will go into their row on the rota. So just moving on to another view that we have, I'm just moving on to a second tab, is we can also look at the rota per role. So all these views reflect each other. Anything you do in one will appear in the other as well. And this is just to show you, we've broken it out by roles. You can see we've got care assistants here. We've got commissioned hours here as well. So the totals of how many you need at different time slots. Again, this is completely flexible in terms of what time slots you have, how many people you need, and what you call the these time slots and just allows managers to keep track. And if I scroll down, you can also see we've got catering and training here. And again, full flexibility in what we offer in terms of how these headers are laid out, what they're called, what different types of shifts sit under each. And finally, the final roster view we have, and this is a really unique feature of Sona and something that our customers love. It is the by people we support view. Typically used by supported living settings. This breaks down each person that you support, the type of support that they receive, and how many hours they receive or are supposed to receive each week. What you can do here is assign staff members to shifts and also post out open shifts, which shows both your staff members who's coming, who they're supporting when they come onto shift, but also it can be shown to the people that you support so that they can see who's coming in to support them. And one thing to flag, you can also see at the bottom, we can handle shared support as well. So this can be any number, but where shared support is being used, then you can assign multiple people to be supported under one staff member, and we can calculate hours effectively from that. I will whiz through a couple of other bits. So we do have a holiday booking module as well. So if I just head to the staff overview here, what you can see is if we click on Kira here, she's got 192 hours of entitlement. We can take this in days or hours. You can see any holiday that's been taken, and you can book on behalf of the staff member as well. You can fill in any annual leave they've got, but they'll also have access to book holiday in the app as well. This is a really helpful tool to drive people to using the app, and staff members really like it because it gives them visibility of their entitlement for the year and gives them a bit more control over booking their own holiday and seeing what's upcoming. Next, we have got the retention module. So this is something we're really proud of here at Sona. So if I just click on this, I'm actually going to do it from this view. Apologies, this tab instead, because we've just got more data in this one. So what we've got here is a wellbeing score. So we offer a shift post-shift check-in on the app. We ping a notification, and again, we can be flexible around how often we ping that, and we ask staff to let us know how they're feeling, and they push some buttons. We can give access to just HR or whoever needs access to this. They let us know how they're feeling. They fill in the reasons for why they're feeling that way. And then what we can do is offer you some data around what the average score is. And that can be looked at in terms of one location, or we can even drill down into a name. So you can see Blake here. Her average score is 5. She started off at 5.3, but at the end of this 12-month period, she's a 4.3. So that might be something that you want to go in and ask her about and check in on her. And again, this isn't available and visible to everyone. It's just whoever you choose for it to be visible to. You could also compare Blake to some other employees if you wanted to as well, and just see where everyone's mood's at. Part of this module is also looking at staff praise. So this is a really, really nice feature in the app where if you see that your staff are doing something really well and you want to compliment them, but they're busy with a resident or someone that you support, so you don't want to interrupt, what you can do is just go into Sona, click on their name, click send praise, and then send them a little message. We've got some custom messages set up here. You just click on one. We've got some templates here that you can use, or you can type in free text. You then click send. That's sent to Blake. Blake gets a notification in her app with some confetti, and it just lets her know that she's been recognised. From some findings that Eamon found from doing a huge report on retention, one of the biggest reasons why people leave care is because they don't feel like they get a thank you or the recognition that they want. So that's what this module has been built to target and make that easier for managers, and also give staff access to all of that praise as well. And finally, the last bit I'll run through is just the newsfeed. So we do provide a newsfeed in the app as well. From talking to lots of care customers, we found that WhatsApp groups are used, Facebook groups, things like that. And actually, it's quite hard sometimes to reach a wide audience. But the Sona app will give you that functionality where you can just post a story. So if we just click on this one for James here, a home for James, it's an update. We've got some pictures that we can add into the app as well. We can target just one location or multiple, and you can also target roles. So you could send this just to your nurses if you wanted to. You could send it to the whole business or just particular locations. And that is a very speedy run through from me, Eamon. So I'll hand back over to you.
Well, that was immaculately done, Molly, with 1 minute to go until we wrap up. So thank you very much. And there's not really much else to say. Thank you very much to everyone for joining today. As I said, this will be available on demand. We'll be sending you some more information by email as a follow-up as well. And we will be returning with the webinar series. The next one is going to probably be after the Easter break, which is coming up very, very soon. So again, stay tuned for that. And with that, I will wish everyone a very great and pleasant rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone, and bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.